You're listening to the official Push Square podcast featuring Ben and Ben. Do you push square?
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 17 of the Push Square podcast. My name's Ben Potter. I'm the podcast editor for the best PlayStation website on the internet, pushsquare.com, and joining me, as always, even though it's... Hang on, I did that wrong, Tarrant! Joining me, No, I did that. I did it right.
You did it right.
So embarrassing. Joining me, as always, even though it's only been 17 times, is Ben Tarrant. Hello, Mr. Tarrant.
Hello, Ben.
All over the place. Over the place today.
Oh, dear.
Just getting started into November. We're in that weird no man's land between Halloween and is it okay to start doing Christmas stuff yet?
No,
Is it?
No.
Is it okay? I think at a minimum 15th of November.
Oh, that's pushing it. Even that's pushing it.
Really, you think?
Yeah, I'm a full believer in December is Christmas.
Oh, really? I bloody love Christmas, and I am secretly thrilled that things were being advertised in mid-October, but I do acknowledge that it is ridiculous, and I think mid-November is a good cut-off point.
I think we can agree.
The real question is, Tarrant, when do I reapply the Christmas PlayStation 4 theme to my console? When do I do that?
December.
You reckon December is the time for that?
Yeah.
Because at the moment I've got a giant floating burger that rotates around the screen that I got from the US PlayStation Store, and it's amazing. And it has sort of softcore pornography music in the background.
Nice.
And I don't think anything's going to top that.
Just put some tinsel on it.
I can't edit it, sadly. Well, you mean just stick tinsel to my television?
Yep, done.
That looks great. All the TV is festive now. Flawless. Well, welcome along to the Push Square podcast. We talk about PlayStation, surprisingly enough. This week, we've got a lot of news. We're going to talk about, well, actually the feature is Bethesda's new review policy, which has ruffled some feathers, putting it mildly. Then the big review, we'll be talking to Alex Stinton again, second time in a row,
Can't get rid of him.
Battlefield 1. What's in your bin this week, Tarrant?
In my indie bin this week is Virginia from Variable State and 505 Games.
Walking sim.
It is a walking simulator.
Then we'll briefly move on to what we're playing, some audience questions, and then we'll wrap up the show. Are you ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
First up, Mr. Tarrant, what's happening?
The Chinese Room. They made that game that we both quite like. Everybody's gone to the Rapture. Another walking simulator. Mm-hmm. If you haven't played it, now's your chance. It's free on PlayStation Plus.
Hooray.
It's a really good palate cleanser, especially with all the shooty bang bang nonsense going on at the moment. And it's
absolute nonsense.
It is nonsense. And it's a real experience. I think even if you're not a fan of walking simulators, you should give it a go. And you have no excuse.
There is a run button. There is a run button.
There is. Google that first.
They just don't tell you.
Yeah, they really don't.
Incredible game. Incredible game. Absolutely loved this. One of my favourite games of the year last year.
Yeah, agreed.
It's fantastic. But also on PlayStation Plus this month are The Deadly Tower of Monsters, Letter Quest, Grimm's Journey Remastered. Thank God that was remastered. I couldn't wait to play that again. And Pumped BMX Plus. All, of course, top-notch titles, but I think clearly Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is the cream of the crop.
Just a bit.
This month. Moving on, PlayStation 4 is rapidly approaching the 50 million units sold mark. 50 million.
That's just insane.
That's a great deal. How many years are we in? 3?
Yeah, it's like 3 now, I think.
Pretty much 3. That's good going so far.
That's really good going.
Even though Microsoft has been not closing the gap necessarily, but they've sold the most consoles the past few months, right, on the trot.
Yeah, but I think PlayStation had like a year where they were selling 2 for 1 or something.
Yes.
So
yeah, they did. So they're still a long way off. There's a big gap there.
Yeah, just a bit.
When's the Pro coming out?
Oh, God.
Is it this month?
Yes. Yeah, because they've started shipping retail units and stuff.
Well, there we go. And speaking of the PlayStation 4 Pro, Tarrant, The Last of Us.
Remastered.
Yeah, they've prepped it for PlayStation 4 Pro. And I'm not really sure, again, having not seen a PS4 Pro running on a 4K TV, I just can't comprehend what the difference is.
No, and it's really hard to sell.
That's their hardest challenge. It's so difficult to describe. Trust us, it looks great. Does it though? I don't know. I can't see on my puny, terrible television, which I'm being told is obsolete.
I think that's it as well. Do people have the kit to kind of back it up as well?
Do people care, even? I'm playing VR quite happily, and that's pretty blurry.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't mind. You forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not important.
Forget about it.
Really. Doesn't make it's not... It is a more powerful console, but it seems that they're only using that power to make it look nicer and not have the game world be bigger or have more advanced mechanics or anything like that. It's just a prettier... It's a prettier console. It's a console that makes things prettier but does nothing else.
Well, to be fair, we argued that if they started making games better for PS4 Pro in the sense that they were actually better games, so you said like bigger worlds and stuff, that would start to separate, and that segregation would be bad. That
would be very bad, and I don't like that, but it's a weird thing to pitch to someone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that would be the thing that would make me buy it if I was going to buy it. Your games will be better. Right. But currently, your games will look better. Doesn't do anything for me at all, because it's exactly the same game. There we go. Next.
This one's really cool, actually. So, I always say this wrong. Is it Eidos Montreal?
You've written it wrong. It's Eidos.
Eidos. Oh, yeah. No, that's my bad. So, basically, an employee of Eidos was on the metro in Montreal. And was clearly editing some kind of pitch document or actual like official document that regarded the new Tomb Raider game. I believe it's called Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is a NAF title. Hopefully it's a placeholder title.
Yeah.
But yeah, a Redditor happened to be sitting next to this employee, took a photo of it, chucked it on Reddit. So now it's quite clear that it could be shifting to someone else.
Oh, as in developer-wise?
Yeah.
Right, because it was Crystal Dynamics?
Yeah.
Is that right? They did the other one, so... Yeah,
they've had it for a while.
We'll see. We'll see what they do. Yeah, Crystal Dynamics, they did, obviously, the first Tomb Raider reboot they did, and also, was it Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Which I really don't like that name. That's meant to be excellent as well. And then they did a load of twin-stick shooter ones, didn't they? Did a few of those?
Temple of Osiris?
Yeah, that was one that was on Plus. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
Thought it was a bit rubbish. But they're clearly a very talented studio, so that's... I don't know if that's anything to be concerned about, but it'll be interesting to see, if it does go to a different studio, how they handle it.
Because Eidos do Deus Ex, don't they?
I believe they do. This is Eidos Montreal, though. So there's various Eidos studios.
And that essentially makes them almost completely different studios, doesn't it, really?
Could do.
But, I mean, the talent... Yeah, it could be good.
Yeah. Well, we will see.
We will.
If it's not just being completely posed for Reddit.
True. It could easily be faked. That was what everybody was talking about.
Look at this person I have sat next to on the train who is editing a document that is
important NDA'd one.
Yeah, private document. Next, Titanfall 2. That's a game that came out. It's number 4 in the UK charts, or it was anyway. Skyrim, the special edition, the remaster, the re-released, is... What the hell is that?
Fireworks, you're going to have to deal with that, I'm afraid.
Oh, God. London's under attack.
We actually have kids that set them off outside our house at
really?
each other.
Wow. You live in a great place, man.
Yeah, but an old lady started having a go at one of the kids outside. And obviously they're not going to do anything to an old lady, so they've all kind of shifted round the corner to a kind of courtyardy area. So it echoes and it's even louder.
Well, we'll just have to get on with it. Why are they even doing it now? It's too late.
Oh, they do it all times of day. They were doing it like early in the afternoon the other day, so you couldn't even see the fireworks.
Wow, what a bunch of hoodlums.
Aye, yobbos.
Yobbos, yeah. Anyway, so Titanfall 2, that came out, number 4 in the UK charts. Skyrim Special Edition's number 2. And Battlefield 1 is number 1. And Farming Simulator is number 5.
Just to put that number 4 for Titanfall 2 into perspective, Farming Simulator was number 5. What is going on?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I know.
You just
repeated echoing you.
Well, like the fireworks in the courtyard.
That's not good, basically. So exclusivity not being there, has it made much of an impact? Not really.
Well, I mean, they're going to make twice as much money potentially.
Hopefully.
And it'll probably still continue to sell. I personally wasn't hugely excited for Titanfall 2.
Neither, but it's really struck a chord with a lot of people, getting a lot of 8s and 9s.
Yeah, it's a big budget game as well. Huge amount of money in that. So I'm sure they'll make their money back at some point. You know what really annoys me about Skyrim Special Edition?
What?
Is that Bethesda on all of their marketing have said play it again, or Skyrim now in high definition. So, well, what the bloody hell was it last time?
Rubbish.
Yeah, rubbish definition.
Don't play that.
I don't understand why remasters feel the need to say high definition, because it's not in high definition. It's just remastered for PlayStation 4. That's fine, just say that. Don't say high definition.
It's just a buzzword, isn't it?
It's rubbish. Stupid word for idiots. Next.
God of War is not at the PlayStation Experience this year, and that's according to director Cory Barlog, which oddly reads like Balrog.
Yeah, I read Balrog as well.
Good.
So PSX, when is that? Is that December?
Yes.
Right, that'll be exciting. I like PSX.
Yeah,
PlayStation Experience. Nice. So God of War not there. Well, when did they show off? It was E3 this year that they announced it, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had that awesome orchestral opening.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not fussed about that.
No, not at all. This was just like an early reveal kind of thing. They don't need anything else right now.
Yeah, you got nothing to prove. We believe in you, Cory Balrog. You can do it. Next, Sony's new Platinum headset that they announced a little while ago. It was originally meant to be coming out in December, and it's now been delayed until next year.
Yeah. I think the big deal was that it was designed for the Pro. It was designed to go with the Pro kind of thing. Kind of like the Gold were designed to go with the PS4. I'm currently wearing the Gold right now, and I love them to bits. So if they've done an improved version, I'm all for it.
Which one is the Gold? I think I might have the Gold.
The wireless ones that are...
Yeah, I got the wireless ones.
Yeah, they're really nice.
I can't use them for games anymore though, because I needed a pair of over-ear headphones to go to the gym with, and I've been using them in the gym for about
grim.
For about 7 or 8 months. It's just I can't use them for gaming now. It's too late. They're ruined. I've ruined them.
R.I.P. headphones.
Yeah, and I don't even use them wirelessly either, or Bluetooth. It's just wired straight in like a scrub. Just what a waste of money.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to help me recount this Hello Games tweeting debacle?
This was such a mess. Honestly, this kind of goes to show the industry's desperation to jump on something. Basically, a tweet went out from the Hello Games Twitter saying No Man's Sky was a mistake. Just that, dropped it in there, and then the tweet got taken down and the account was made private. And then, obviously, every kind of big outlet jumped on it, was reporting that, they were kind of finally confessing after ages of silence.
Didn't someone say they spoke to a source inside and that the team weren't doing well, or something like that?
Yeah, basically, they started emailing Hello Games for confirmation on this, and Sean got back to some people saying that it was a hack, that it was to do with, someone getting through his LinkedIn or something. Right. And that it was actually done by a disgruntled employee. And then someone else got in contact with an employee, and he said that it was Sean, and an employee took the tweet down. So basically, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of oh God.
Wow.
That's
good
really
thing we're talking
loud.
about Battlefield later.
Ambient music for it. Yeah, so basically there was a lot of toing and froing, and it kind of got down to the point where no one knew what had been hacked, what hadn't been hacked, what was true, what wasn't true. But essentially, someone, either a disgruntled employee, Sean, or a really ironic trolling hacker, tweeted out that No Man's Sky was a mistake, which, whatever happens, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's pretty tragic across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, I think whichever thing ends up being true, especially if it was Sean or an employee, that's really sad. People put a lot of time and effort into that. And to sit back and go, that was just a huge mistake.
Yeah, that was... I don't know. I think it's pretty telling that our first real word from Hello Games is denying that No Man's Sky was a mistake.
Yeah, true.
It was a mess. I don't think it was a mistake.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. Big time. I think it took a lot of missteps, but I don't think it was a mistake by any stretch.
But finally, what's this? What's this I'm seeing here? What's on the bottom here?
So this is a kind of hot off the press bit of news.
Oh, hot take.
That game company, so the people behind Journey, Flow, Flower, have done some cryptic tweets and started a new Twitter called That New Game. They've posted a few screenshots of what looks like concept art of a candle, a child, and a kind of grassy hill with a structure on it.
Right.
But it's about connections or emotions or something.
Of course it is.
Obviously, yeah. I mean,
they
all
love
their
that
games.
stuff.
But yeah, more of that game company's games, please, and thank you.
Yeah, see, I've spoken to, because that game company was co-founded by Genova Chen and Kelly Santiago. Mm-hmm. And I've actually spoken to Kelly Santiago a few times before. Yeah. And I think she's left that game company now. But she left after Journey was done, or at least very close to when Journey was going to be finished. So she presumably had an impact on that game's development and so on and so forth. Now, I don't know why, but I was kind of under the impression that game company has sort of dissolved a bit because a lot of them left to form that studio that made Abzu.
Yes, which you can, I was going to say, you can totally tell that.
Yeah, which is a weird combination of Flower and Journey. And I don't know if this is going to be affected by Kelly not being there. But it'll be interesting. Yeah. I'm totally up for it, either way.
Yeah, I think if they can replicate the kind of stuff that they created with Journey, like the emotions and the experience, then yeah, I'm all down for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But there we go. That's the news that we've got. It's time to move on to the feature, Bethesda's review policy. Feature time! And as we said, Bethesda announced their new review policy recently. Mr. Tarrant, would you like to take us through what it is and what it means for us?
Essentially, Bethesda are now not going to send review copies out to members of the press any sooner than the day before launch of a game. And essentially what this means is that press will not be able to complete reviews on Bethesda published titles for launch unless they rush it or unless they lie or make it up, basically. Mm-hmm. In the long run, this means that there's going to be a strange kind of competition between outlets to get it out first, because obviously that's how ad revenue works. The more clicks you get on a page, the more money you get, and that's how pretty much everything on the internet seems to operate. That would mean that the smaller sites that are less inclined to put more effort into their reviews are going to publish them and get more hits from that. And it's this circular effect of quality and timing, and it's all going to be thrown up in the air. And the biggest complaint isn't with Bethesda, it's with the notion that this is okay, and that a lot of people are defending it, and that because a big company has done it, how many more companies are going to do it? Is this going to become the norm? And if it does, what are the effects of that? And it's all quite unnerving, actually. Quite unnerving.
Yeah, it's not. I can understand why they do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when you think from a publisher's perspective, what do they have to gain about sending out their game a few weeks ahead of time, or 2 weeks ahead of time, or a week ahead of time, when potentially that game might not be very good?
Yeah.
And the reviews could negatively affect the sales. There's nothing forcing them to do this. There's never been anything forcing them to do this.
Exactly.
So they're well within their right to do it.
Yeah.
But as you said, ultimately it means there's going to be this weird arms race between websites.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great for the smaller sites potentially, but as you said, they're either going to be lying or they're not going to have played enough of the game to form a proper opinion, which means that ultimately the people who lose out are the consumers.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, those are the people who are going to lose out, because if they want an opinion to trust, to actually know whether or not to buy a game, which is probably why you read reviews in the first place,
yeah,
they're potentially not going to, they're potentially going to miss out on that. And as much as people say pre-ordering is bad, don't pre-order, people pre-order. And chances are, if the game is reviewed crap a couple of days before the game releases, then you cancel your pre-order. But now, if you're looking forward to a game and you pre-order it and you pay your money for it and it arrives, and then all the reviews come out and it's not good, you've lost. Yes. And the publisher has won.
That's exactly it. And also, they're going to have that monopoly in the run-up to the release of their game. And like you said, this completely benefits the publisher, and that's fine for them. And as you said, they are completely within their right to do that. This isn't a moan at like the illegitimacy of them doing it, because they can do it. There's no God-given right that press get this early. What we should be looking at is the idea that they now have a monopoly on the voice of that game right up until the press get their hand on it. They can control the marketing, they can control anything you see, hear about this game. And the irony is that YouTubers will still get their hands on copies early. They're claiming not, but there's already proof that YouTubers have access to games early when pressed.
That happened with Skyrim, didn't it?
Yes.
Which was the first game that they did this with.
Well, technically they did it with Doom. They did it with Doom,
but they just didn't formally announce it.
Yeah, they did it under the guise that they wanted it to hold off so that everybody could access multiplayer at the same time to get the full experience. And now they've done it with Skyrim, which has no multiplayer experience, so they've actually had to formally come out and say why. Mafia 3 did it as well. They did a real last minute. So 2K are doing this as well. The blame is not solely with any publisher, it's a collection. They did it with Mafia 3 because YouTubers got like a vinyl record player and stuff sent to them 2-3 weeks before release. Right. And press were getting it like 2-3 days before release. Generally.
Yeah. It's just a weird shift in the industry where publishers are seeing where the views and the trendsetters are. Yeah. And as big as certain websites are, they ultimately have people who have opinions and might not like what they see. Whereas, and I don't want to generalize here, but largely anything you hear about YouTubers being sent games early has backfired in some fashion or another about them either being paid to promote it and not saying that they've been paid to promote it, or just full stop being paid to promote the game and acknowledge that they've been paid to promote the game. If you want to get your opinion from someone who's been paid to play the game on their YouTube channel, then by all means, you can do that. But that's a pretty messed up and backwards way of looking at, getting opinions about something you're going to spend money on.
Exactly. It's
just dangerous. I don't like it at all. And hopefully it doesn't catch on, but chances are it bloody well will.
It's looking like it will. More and more publishers are doing it and getting away with it, and it's, I don't know, you're gonna miss it when it's gone. This whole game journalism lark.
Yeah, I get the whole we need ethics in games journalism thing, but you may think that this is some kind of victory because hooray, the press aren't getting it early. They're the rich, greedy press. And it's not about that. It's never been, as you said, it's never been about getting access to stuff earlier and feeling like you're superior and looking down on everyone else. It's about being able to provide an opinion that people at home who are going to spend money on the game can listen to. So we can advise you. That's the only reason we get it early, or that we ever got it early. And we're still going to get it early, but not early enough to actually warn you or promote it to you and say, yes, you should buy this. It's like no good can come from this for anyone other than the publisher, and people need to bear that in mind.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly.
But there we are. Having said that, it's time to move on to our big review, Mr. Tarrant.
Paid ad, courtesy of DICE.
Courtesy of DICE and EA. And now joining me on the phone for the second week running is Alex Stinton. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Ben.
How are we today?
I'm pretty good, thanks. Pretty good.
Excellent. Not amazing?
A bit better, but I'm enjoying all the games coming out at the moment, if that helps.
Yeah. Well, one of the big games that came out recently was Battlefield 1, which I think is currently #1 in the charts. And you reviewed it for PushSquare.com, and we're going to talk about it right now.
Yes, we are.
How was it?
You know what? I think it's one of the strongest Battlefield games for a long time. I think it it could easily have fallen into the trap that Battlefield Hardline fell into, where it felt like a mod, but it doesn't. I think it feels quite unique and got a bit of character to it. And it was difficult subject matter to cover in a kind of bombastic shooter genre, World War One, which was kind of the I'm not saying that any wars are glamorous whatsoever, but in the Hollywood pantheon of war films, World War Ones tend to be the most depressing of them. So
yes,
so they've been suitably respectful while still kind of edging over towards the over-the-top shooter elements, which, let's be honest, everyone wants to get in the shooting game. So,
of course. Well, I mean, that was my biggest concern as soon as I saw they were doing World War One. I saw they were doing World War One and I thought, oh, cool, that's fantastic. I can't wait to see them do World War One justice. And then we had dubstep on the trailer or something and I thought, oh, God. Oh, no, what are they doing? This is awful. This could be awful. But from what I understand, it was basically just advertising the multiplayer to kids, right?
Yeah, I think the marketing people got hold of those trailers rather than the people at DICE. Because the game kicks off with quite a powerful sequence that kind of hammers home how brutal the war was. That a lot of people didn't survive those battles, and it kind of drives it home quite well. And rather than kind of following one protagonist through a kind of army of one story where they miraculously were in every single theatre of war in World War One and was key to the winning of those battles, it kind of tells a number of war stories, kind of going from a tank crew in France, I believe, to kind of someone who's fighting with Lawrence of Arabia in the Middle East, and to kind of Gallipoli. So it kind of covers a lot of area, but tells kind of very enclosed stories for 2 or 3 missions, so you can get a kind of different feel of different theatres of war that were going on during World War One.
Excellent. So would you say that it is, because I'm extremely interested in the single player, we'll get to the multiplayer in a minute, but is it worth buying the game full price for just the single player? Because I am bad at multiplayer games and I'm not really interested.
Yeah, I mean, and this is an odd statement, it's the best Battlefield campaign since Bad Company 2.
Okay.
But given what the rest of them were like since Bad Company 2,
it's not a huge bar.
Not a huge bar to jump over, but they do clear it, and it's I had fun doing it. It's quite a nice varied campaign. There's kind of stealth and shooting sections, there's vehicle sections, and it acts as kind of a good primer for multiplayer. And you never know, you might actually find yourself playing the multiplayer because you've got so used to it in the campaign.
Maybe.
But they kind of effectively move towards different types of action in each of the sections. So you have like one that will be very open maps where there's a lot of stealth and you can kind of choose your approach to, the one where you're flying planes and that sort of thing, which is, very different to what comes after it. Mm-hmm. So it does quite a good job in mixing things up. And as a result, you'll kind of power through it quite well because you don't ever feel like you're bored by what's going on. It's always throwing something new, something different at you, which kind of, it stops it becoming this, I'm a modern soldier in a near future conflict and I'm shooting in this sort of thing, which they tend to feel very samey and they don't tend to have too much different going on in them in previous Battlefield games, where this definitely manages to mix it up for you.
Excellent. Is it, in terms of the narrative story that's given, you said you split between different people. Is there an overarching narrative, or is it just literally here's a self-contained story, here's a self-contained story, here's a self-contained story, and then just credits at the end for all of them?
They're very self-contained, and they're going for a very specific thing. One does a very interesting thing with unreliable narrator and kind of plays into the over-the-top action by essentially having someone who you don't trust what they're saying because they're recounting their kind of their time in the war, and you're kind of thinking, this is over the top, but I'm not sure this is actually what happened to you in this situation. Right. So it plays with things differently in those sorts of aspects, but by and large, they're very contained. 2 or 3 missions. They're over pretty quick. It's not a long campaign, as they don't tend to be these days. But you'll get something out of it, I think, if you pick it up. Whether it's worth it just for the single player, probably not. I'd say if you're not going to touch the multiplayer, that's probably Battlefield is not the game for you. But right. I think if it's cheaper in the future and you see it on sale, then it's probably worth getting a look at.
Okay, is it particularly emotional? These stories that they tell, do they tug on your heartstrings? Do they make you feel things?
I mean, they try to. They give setups, some very personal setups to each of the stories, and you kind of get a little bit of the backstory of the people. And it's only a small amount because you can't tell that much in the space of time that they're using. But it kind of shows, the effect it had on these people, and whether ultimately I wasn't tearing up at all, if that's what you're asking. But it at least tries, and it makes the effort, which, based on what you said before, on the marketing material that came out in the run-up to release, you kind of question whether they were even going to go for that or even try to. Yeah. But it has a certain reverence to it where I think they really try and at least, do right by it. Whether it's successful 100% of the time, probably not. But I think, they've had a really good effort and they've made a really good game as a result of that.
That makes me very happy. That makes me very happy to hear that. Because as I said, I was never down on Battlefield 1 as an idea. I was just very worried that they were going to completely mismanage and go for an audience that they really shouldn't be going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Valiant Hearts. It is in the day a first-person shooter through and through, and that's what you're getting out of it, and you know what to really expect. But it at least is a halfway point between the kind of the over-the-top shooter and the kind of the Valiant Hearts approach would make you really want to cry right at the end of it.
Oh my God, Valiant Hearts is the only game that has made me cry tears. I'm willing to admit that. Made me very sad.
I was going to say, some of those trophies. Sorry, I talked over you then. Sorry about that.
What were you saying? Some of the trophies?
Some of the trophies you go for probably made you cry, didn't they? How long it took you to get some of them?
I never wanted to play that game again, honestly. Not because it was bad, but because I got, I was emotionally spent afterwards. That experience was so special, I didn't really want to go back through it again, which is very rare for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic game. And I'm glad to hear Battlefield 1, while not perhaps quite as... I don't know. I don't want to say good. Obviously, that's nonsense. I mean, in terms of their approach to Battlefield 1, bloody hell, World War 1 at least. I'm glad to hear that Battlefield 1 is good as well. But let's talk about the multiplayer. Have you played much of that yet?
Yeah, I've played a fair bit of it. It's what you'd expect from Battlefield. If you like what it did in previous games, it's doing that again, pretty much, albeit with a World War I spin to it. Mm-hmm. So there's, tanks are quite powerful, but there aren't very many of them. So a lot of it's kind of infantry combat with a few planes thrown in for good measure here or there. And of course horses, because everyone's seen the horses, haven't they? Charging around the battlefield in the videos. So it works very, very similar to before. You've got Conquest, the old staple, Rush similarly. And the one thing that's kind of the major new addition, I guess, is what you call Operations, which is a mixture of Conquest and Rush, whereby you have attackers and defenders, and the attackers have to take over 2 points in a sector, which then they take control of that sector and move on to the next one. So you have kind of like a shifting battlefield. And they said Battlefront then.
Oh, man.
Same company, but place. A shifting front. So you take over one sector, you move across another sector, then the defenders have to defend again, and the attackers go for the same one. And the attackers get to have 3 chances at that. And if they fail 3 times, basically the defenders win. But it plays out over multiple maps. So you fight across sectors on one map, then move on to another map. So these matches can last like 40 minutes in some cases. So they're quite long. But what they do kind of generate is a real intensity of battle, because it's, you have up to 64 players in a match.
Right. And
the amount of carnage going on is just absolutely spectacular. And the fact this game looks absolutely staggering on PS4, it just helps drive home just the wholesale destruction that's going on in these battles. And it can be quite rewarding, but also a bit of a meat grinder when your time to death can be extremely short, because you'll run around a corner and basically just get blasted by someone from
kind of accurate in that sense then.
It can be, yeah. If you watch me play on one of my live streams, you'll see me die over and over again in a very, very familiar fashion.
Oh dear, that's awful. So these destructible environments, how destructible are they? Not only in the campaign, but the multiplayer as well.
The buildings are kind of the main destruction that you kind of get out of this. There's you can destroy the walls and buildings can come down, but it takes a bit of going to. Not quite as easy to come down as they have been in past games, but it means you can obviously blow through walls and kind of open new ways through the map. So when there's that much fire and mortar fire going on, and that's grenades being thrown around, it can be quite interesting to kind of try and hide as the walls around you are slowly all coming down.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a very complete, shiny package. You gave it 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just over a week ago on pushsquare.com. Your review is still there if people want to go and read it. It is a fantastic review. One of the best reviews I've ever seen, Alex.
Thank you very much.
The best ever written.
I'm sure you didn't scroll to the bottom of it at all, did you? Look at the score.
Don't say that. Come on. Don't give them ideas. So it comes highly recommended then?
Yeah, definitely. I think you know what you're getting from a Battlefield game, and this is pretty much that in the multiplayer, albeit it's got quite an interesting take on the campaign going on in it. So you know what you're getting. If you like Battlefield, you're absolutely going to love this. It's definitely the best one of these for a while. I'd say since Bad Company 2, in my opinion. So you can do a lot worse than checking it out, and I think it's one of the kind of the better shooters, I think, out in the next few weeks. Obviously, we've got Titanfall 2, which has just come out, and we've got Call of Duty, which is imminent, if not out by the time people are listening to this. So I think it's a strong contender to be top of the pile out of the three.
Well, fantastic. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again.
No problem. You're welcome.
So now we come to the time in the show where we take a look at what's inside my indie bin. This is where we have a look at an independently developed game and put it through its paces and see if it's indie bin or not indie bin.
Not D-bin.
Not D-bin. This week it's Virginia by Variable State and 505 Games.
I've heard such mixed things about this game. Please tell me more.
It's a very weird, very open-ended experience. You are an FBI agent, and you're basically kind of experiencing a dream, experiencing events, and it's all done through walking. It is a very serious walking simulator in the sense that the only interaction you have is walking down corridors, looking around, and tapping X to do X, Y, and Z. It's very, very, very limited. And I think it's very self-aware in that respect. It plays itself out like a film. All of the credits for the developers, that's all at the beginning. The kind of everything you see, the HUD, all of that, it's all played out like a film, which is really good. It doesn't kind of hide itself from that respect. It's eerie as hell at times, and then quite boring at others. It's very strange. There's a couple of...
So does it have some pacing problems then?
Yeah, big time. But I think that's more my lack of understanding for the plot, which obviously is then its downfall at not disseminating the plot correctly or well enough for general people to understand. I think I've read a lot that playing it through 3 or 4 times is really good, but it's about a 2.5 hour experience. I was a bit burnt out after it and wanted to kind of let it lie and kind of play it through in my head and try and work it out before I went back into it.
Is it one that you would recommend playing through all at once or in separate chunks?
All at once. 100%. Play it all in one go. Because you can, and it is worth doing it all in one go. And then playing it through again later, all in one go. I wouldn't play it through in chunks. It would get really confusing otherwise. And I don't think there's any kind of a save point.
Oh, good.
I'm just trying to think. There's no kind of autosave thing, as I can see, and...
It's not a game at all then, is it?
Not really. It's just like a little interactive storybook. It does push the boundary of, is it a game? And I've had that discussion a lot, especially at uni, right. Where I get absolutely lynched for liking walking simulators. And you can argue things like Firewatch and, Rapture. They're all walking simulators, but they are gamey. You do things... You can save, you can, This, another thing, there's no dialogue in Virginia. It's all done kind of with body language. And interestingly enough, they achieved this with characters that essentially look like Mii's from the Wii. Like their eyes and all of that are the same as Mii's. And it's really weird that they managed to get this emotion through in these characters. The art style's amazing though. But where the art style's so nice, it's chuggy as heck in places. Like absolute butt running. Seriously. You're driving along and you look around and it's like 3 frames a second at points. It completely, whatever atmosphere it has in those points, just thrown out. My feelings towards it were all over the place throughout the 2 hours. And I'm still kind of reeling from it. But
that's good that it left a lasting impression then.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad one just yet. But I can totally see why there was such a divisive kind of opinion on it. Yeah, reaction, especially in the press, which I can see it really appealing to the people that are, a bit and overly critical of things.
Sure.
And I can see it completely falling flat with those that just look for a game experience. I mean, Graham Bannis, who I always read it as Bananas, I'm sorry.
Graham
Bananas.
Stop it.
He gave
cry.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't mean it. He gave it a 4 out of 10, and I read his review, and I can fully see how he came to that conclusion. I personally think that's a bit harsh, but then again, his criticisms were all valid and all relevant. So for me personally, it's indie bin.
It's staying indie bin.
It's staying indie bin. No JPEG.
We haven't had one stay in the bin, indie bin for a while, have we?
No, we haven't, and it's a walking simulator as well. I'm emotionally.
Are you going to be okay?
Are you
going to be okay?
I'm not sure.
Maybe we should get you counselling or like a dog or something.
I'll just play Firewatch again.
Oh God, you're all right. Let's move on to what we are playing. What are we playing, Tarrant?
Well, Virginia.
Yeah, we know.
I'm still playing Destiny.
Why?
Because
Why?
I've started to make friends, and they play it too, and it's nice. And we play it together. Destiny's a lot more fun with friends.
Right. Okay.
What else have I been playing? I've been playing more Don't Starve. Been manipulating the kind of world elements on that, making it easier for me so I get further.
Good. Nothing like a challenge.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I've been actually making my own game, which is...
Oh, a university.
Yes,
That's very exciting.
It's slow progress.
It's not even a walking simulator.
It's not. Not yet. Yeah, God, the moment you try and make anything do anything, you get an utmost respect for these AAA big budget games. Even just getting him to walk across the screen and open a door took me 2 hours.
You're learning though.
Yeah, getting there.
Just good.
Just watch out for my big AAA title.
Sure, we'll do.
Step out of the way, Kojima.
Let me know when No Man's Sky 2 hits.
What about you? What have you been playing?
I don't think I spoke about it last time, all the VR I played, did I?
Oh, you were moaning that you don't have time to play all the VR you have to play.
Yeah, because it was because didn't I have the headset but I hadn't played it yet?
More or less.
Right, I have now played a lot of VR.
Hey.
It's excellent.
Yeah?
And I have very minor quibbles with it.
Quibbles?
Yeah.
What are your quibbles?
I have no real issues. There's a lot of wires,
yeah.
Which isn't in itself an issue. It's when you're sat on the sofa and you have the wires going down behind you. If you're sat flush to the back of the sofa, sometimes they can pinch a bit.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
So that when you look down, you'll tug on wires and that will pull you out of the experience. So you need to readjust yourself. It's great though. I was playing the Batman game, Batman Arkham VR, which I think is probably the best one that exists at the moment.
Your capture on that, your share play.
Yeah, you can make Batman dance. Obviously,
that was amazing.
Which is what I did. Very clever. It actually fits into the Arkham universe, and I was very impressed. Although I have had problems with a couple of games with the Move controllers in terms of I have a coffee table in front of my sofa,
right?
And sometimes it'll freak out and not know how high my hands are meant to be. So I'll reach down to grab something and I won't be able to reach down far enough because I'm too high up or something. It's weird. If you get it calibrated properly, it's fine, but it's good fun.
So if anything, your quibbles seem to be more user issues.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the VR headset itself.
Right.
It's blurry, obviously, but you can adjust settings to make it a bit clearer.
Yeah.
And even then, it's still a little bit blurry. But it's not really a problem. Sony just need to, make some settings with a bit of transparency, like a slider or something, so you can fiddle about with it easier. Because at the moment, it's a bit of a hassle.
I'm sure they'll iterate the UI as well.
I'm sure they will. But in terms of whether or not I'd recommend it, I can't even remember if I spoke about it on this podcast.
You did.
I think I did. Right? I said that if people are thinking about buying it, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because you need to be certain.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a better one released like next year. So
Exactly what you said.
Wouldn't worry about it. And I also get an immense amount of pleasure from actually having people over and letting them try it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy setting people up with it and just letting them have a go.
You make them play Rush of Blood, don't you? So you just laugh at them.
I actually did for the first time. Someone immediately requested, Rush of Blood. I was like, really? You want to play? And he was leaping all over the sofa, like terrified.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's such a good bit of kit and so easy to use. And apart from that, I don't think... I played the Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, you've got that?
Yeah, because a friend came round and we played the Dark Souls DLC, which you reviewed.
I did.
Which I thought was naff as well. And I was really disappointed because it took like 3 hours to play it through twice, because we were helping each other and co-oping.
Yeah.
So really disappointed with that because he came all the way up to play that for a few days. We were going to play Dark Souls together. And then so we got Dying Light the next day, which I was really unimpressed with.
It's all right. I saw it going for a $5. I saw the Sainsbury's were doing it for a $5. And I thought,
yeah, we couldn't find a copy
$5.
for a $5. But we tracked down a couple of copies of that and started playing that, and that was basically just fetch quest the game. And because of the free running, you don't need to fight the zombies, and then it was just really uninteresting. It was just free running over the rooftops to go to an objective marker, and it was just very tedious, really. I don't know what I was expecting, but it won Game of the Month here at some point. I remember that much, so you're a bunch of idiots.
I think Stinton reviewed that.
Well, there we go. Stinton, you and me are going to have to fight. But then we chucked that in and thought, well, screw it, let's get the Elder Scrolls Online. Played a bit of that. It's an MMO set in the Elder Scrolls universe. It's fine. The group questing system is a bit weird because sometimes when we were in a group, when we were collecting stuff, it would combine and sometimes it wouldn't, and it was all a bit strange. But, good fun. It works, and we didn't have any issues with it. So, yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Cool.
A fair amount. Now... we're going to move on to some audience questions. Question time. First up, Tarrant, what we got?
Demaster. So, as we were saying, we're like 3 years into this generation. So he says, what do you think is the biggest highlight and the biggest disappointment of this generation so far?
That's a very good question.
It's a very difficult question as well.
Is that game-wise or just in general?
I'd take it as in general, otherwise we'll be here forever.
Well, the biggest highlight... I'm going to go with the game. I'm going to say Bloodborne is probably my biggest highlight so far on PlayStation 4. And the share button.
Oh, yeah, good
The
shout.
share button is the best thing that the PlayStation 4 does.
100%.
I love it.
I think
it's fantastic. And for me, the biggest disappointment, I don't really know. I'm kind of disappointed that it cannot store media.
It's really not... doesn't like interfacing with media at all. I have a hard drive and it doesn't play with it well.
Yeah, that's annoying. But also for, for example, wrestling games. On the PS3... if you wanted to set a custom entrance music, you could, just by copying an MP3 onto your PS3.
Right.
But there's no such system here, so you can't do that. So you're stuck with the in-game ones. So you got to pretend to be someone else.
#wrestling problems.
#wrestling problems, exactly. But there are wider things that come from that as well. I would love to store some media on there rather than having to stream it from Netflix or from a media server. But yeah, that's it. It's not a very big disappointment. I'm very happy with the PS4.
Good. I'd say if we're going for like specifically Sony things, I'd agree with you fully that Bloodborne was just such a because that got me into the Souls genre.
Right.
That was like my first Souls experience, and then I kind of played the others back, and I loved it. It was the first game that I felt so challenged by and couldn't stop playing. I didn't just rage and leave it and never touch it. But if we're going like just general experiences on the PlayStation, like highlight of owning a PlayStation 4, it's got to be Hyper Light Drifter. Obviously I had my saves wiped, lost all of that, 48 hours worth of play, and
Really?
I'm already like planning going back in and maxing it out again. I want to platinum it so bad. And it's a really inspiring game creatively as well. And disappointment wise, for me it's got to be like No Man's Sky. Just because I was really excited for it,
fair enough.
Even with us talking about checking our hype for it
And what it is.
Yeah, I was still quietly excited for it.
What do you do? What do you do, though? Nothing, as it turns out. Or the same few things over and over again.
It was a mistake.
It was a mistake. Huge mistake. Next question comes from Anchor Sam, who I believe is also on the staff, right?
He is, yes.
Do you reckon that the Nintendo Switch will change Sony's approach to the handheld market? No.
No.
I don't really like the Switch. Of course you say that, you do a PlayStation Pocket. No, let me tell you why.
Here we go.
It's because it's a tablet, right? And there's only so powerful that a tablet is going to be able to be.
It's a gablet.
A what?
A gaming tablet.
Off with that language. Yeah, I just don't see how it's instantly going to fall behind everything else again. And, you know, hardcore Nintendo fans, like the people over at Nintendo Life, the liars and the scoundrels that they are, will tell you that it's all about the games and it's all about the Mario and it's all about the Zelda, and it's not. It's not about that at all. I just don't understand how people can be satisfied not only playing the same few series of games forever, but also not being too fussed about the fact that it's never going to look as good as it could look if they just made a normal console. Just make a normal console. What are you doing?
Make a GameCube too.
I don't understand. I like the idea. I like the idea of docking your game and then being able to play it wherever you want and then bring it back. There aren't going to be many people who do that.
No.
And after a few months, the novelty's going to wear off and you're going to be sat there with a tablet plugged into a dock that goes into your TV thinking, oh, for God's sake, why is this only in 720p? I'm so sick of this.
I feel like we struck a nerve there.
I'm sorry, everyone. And I know we have a lot of cross readers and listeners, I would imagine, with Nintendo Life. I like Nintendo. I don't play Nintendo, and it isn't because I'm a PlayStation person, because we criticize PlayStation all the time on here. I just don't understand the blind faith in Nintendo all the time. It doesn't make sense to me. But whatever. If you're excited for it, good for you. And I don't think Sony will... Sorry, what was the question? I don't think Sony will change their approach to the handheld market because they're as good as finished in there. What do you think, Tarrant?
I agree. I think the Vita's doing really well in Japan and they're going to kind of leave it in Japan. I don't think they're going to push it anymore globally. I think games release for it when it's easy and it suits the developers and they feel there's a market for it.
All their JRPGs.
Yeah, all their weeb so...
God, brutal.
I know, I'm sorry. I've got to stop that. I'm really offending people with it.
Robert cries every time. Every Tim.
He stopped replying to me on Twitter whenever I do it to him now. Doesn't even like it. Doesn't even give me that satisfactory like.
Well, I do it to him in person and he smiles, but I can tell he's hurting inside.
Just chisel a bit of him away.
Yeah, I know. He also asks, will they make another handheld or will they stop with the Vita? I think they will stop with the Vita that they will make another handheld at some point, but we're not going to see it for a while. I think observing what the hell happens with the Switch would be a good idea, but I don't think they're going to rush out and think, oh God, Nintendo are making the Switch. No, of course they're not. They're not going to do that.
No, maybe when the dust settles and maybe if the Switch really picks up a market, they might...
When the dust settles on the Switch, am I right, Tarrant? Because they're not using it.
Right, next question. Rudy Manchego.
Good.
This is definitely directed at you because you're going to know this. After some recent corkers, what are your favourite bad voiceovers in games? I believe you did a What Culture thing for this?
I didn't make the video, but I am aware of the video.
Okay.
There are some amazing ones. I think Heavy Rain is probably one of my favourite for wonky voice acting.
Right.
The children in particular, because they're all sort of French-Canadian.
Right.
Or English people doing American accents, which on the whole are fine, the English ones.
Okay.
Leon Ockenden's Norman Jayden is particularly interesting. And I've actually, not to name drop Tarrant, but I've actually spoken with Leon on a number of occasions, and we text sometimes. So I feel comfortable saying this, but he is fully aware that his accent was more than a bit wonky. In fact, whenever I ask him to do it, he says that he's just doing an impression of Norman Jayden now. He can't even remember how it goes. So, as well as the main characters being a bit funky, the children in particular are amazing. If you look up one of the scenes with, in fact, if you just Google Heavy Rain kids bad voice acting, there's a scene where they're outside in the rain and these two kids are talking to each other, and one of them just goes, "Well, a bit of rain never hurt nobody." And it's just the weirdest beats that he hits when he's talking throughout that sentence. Like, it's all over the place, like it's being read by a robot. Like someone who's never heard English before.
Were they outside in heavy rain?
They were, actually. Honestly, though, because it does tie into the... Yes, they were. They were outside in the heavy rain.
Kid fried. Mm-hmm. Do we often listen to music while gaming?
No. Unless it's something I'm getting trophies in or that I don't care for, in which case I'll listen to a podcast, probably.
Okay. I like to listen to the actual music intended for the game.
Ooh.
I went to a talk for Bethesda.
Ooh, of course you did. Look at you.
And the co-owner of the studio is also the lead composer. And what she said about...
personal friend.
You name dropped. Why can't I? And the way she spoke about the music and stuff, and how it impacted the game and how it impacted her while making the game, made me kind of really appreciate music in games, and now I'm really tuned into it, pardon the pun. So yeah, I don't really like to. And also the Spotify app's really wonky for me. I don't know, I don't like the interface of Spotify that much, so
I just hate the adverts and I refuse to pay for a premium version.
Yeah, and that.
The adverts are so patronising, and there are only about 3. So you get the same ones over and over again, which is probably part of them driving you to spend money.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, Demeister, he says, would you guys be interested in Let's playing another non-Uncharted game? Of course, but how could we possibly do it, Tarrant, when we live so far away now?
That's the thing. I mean, I was really gutted we kind of had it kind of slumped off and we just stopped doing the Uncharted one, and I should really give that game a go.
You should.
Again. I will pick up the collection and
just borrow it from me if you're coming up to visit soon. Just borrow it from me and go home and play it. Just stomach your way through the first, and then enjoy the second and third, and be blown away by the fourth. Okay.
Be blown by the fourth.
Well, I don't know about that. It's not that good.
But yeah,
I don't think it's not a physical thing.
I would like to do it, but yeah, like you said, it's going to be difficult. I'm not sure if we can splice. No, I was just thinking, could we share play it? It'd be very cumbersome if we did.
It would be so difficult to capture, and it would be a pain in the ass to edit. So probably not. Probably not.
Sorry.
Depending on how long you're here for, when you do come and visit, we could just record the whole of a game, depending on what it is. But again, that would be another thing for me to edit, and I can't be asked, so probably not. Probably won't happen. But thank you to everyone who asked questions. Make sure you go to the Push Square forums, that's pushsquare.com/forums, and we're under the online and community section, and stickied right to the top. Also, we now have an email address, podcast@pushsquare.com, where you can email in and it'll go straight to us. So
and
if you get that.
Never want to miss a post, even on the forum, when you go to reply or post for the first time, there's a little box that says watch this topic. If you tip that, you will get an email every time someone posts inside the forum, which is great, meaning you can keep up to date with what's going on and help me out when I forget to ask you all for questions.
It's always immensely exciting. Everything that's going on in that forum, so make sure you don't miss it. Let's move on to the end of the show.
So, coming up on pushsquare.com, we've got reviews.
So this is provided by Sammy, these next two things, isn't it? He usually provides us with a bit more information.
This is excellent. Reviews and PS4 Pro. That's what you've got.
Yeah. So make sure you check out the site for reviews. Presumably Sammy's just waiting for all the copies of games to come in several weeks late.
Yeah.
Because of this new nonsense approach to press. Anyway.
But if everybody wants to see all of these great reviews elsewhere, where can they go, Potter?
Elsewhere? You mean on pushsquare.com?
Yeah, obviously.
Right.
Of course. Is there anywhere else on the internet?
I've never heard of it, if there is. If you want any of that and all of that coming straight to your social media feeds, then follow us on Twitter at PushSquare or find us on Facebook.com/PushSquare. And if you'd rather see than read, because you're lazy like me, go to YouTube.com/PushSquare, where you can find streams, vlogs, and other video form shenanigans. Do you know I think they've hit 30k subscribers now.
Oh, wicked.
The YouTube. So congratulations to Sammy and Alex for working so hard on
Very
that.
hard.
And where would they go if they want to hear more from us, Tarrant?
So the Push Square podcast can be found on SoundCloud,
Good work.
Stitcher, and iTunes. And on iTunes, if you leave us a little 5-star review, that would be really good for our ego points.
Yeah, get us those ego points. We live off them. We feed on them.
Literally.
Yes, so make sure you keep it locked to pushsquare.com, the best PlayStation website on the internet. And if anyone tells you otherwise, you can punch them in the face. That's a rule. Thank you very much, Tarrant.
Thank you very much, Miss Potter.
Let's go.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Push Square Podcast. For the latest PlayStation news, reviews, and features, visit www.pushsquare.com.